What's going on, Colts Nation? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, and this morning we have some breaking news coming out of the Colts camp. The Indianapolis Colts have just signed a contract extension with interior defensive lineman DeForest Buckner on a 2-year, $46 million contract extension that now ties him to the Colts till the end of the 2026 season. I think this is really another big deal. There was no chance that Chris Ballard and company were going to allow DeForest Buckner to enter free agency at the end of next year. So this time makes DeForest Buckner the money that he's due. He's one of my favorite Colts players, but this puts him in the fifth richest defensive tackle in terms of average annual salary. Chris Jones is obviously number one. Christian Wilkins. And then Derek Brown is up there as well. And so then that puts DeForest Buckner at five at making roughly about $23 million a year annually as far as salary goes. This has been a big move from Chris Ballard. In fact, it's one of my favorite moves that Chris Ballard has made. And it literally all goes back to this legendary 2020 NFL draft. Because if you remember, the Colts traded away their first round pick for DeForest Buckner. So our first round pick in that draft was DeForest Buckner. Second round pick was Michael Pittman. And then third round pick was Jonathan Taylor. And then, you go on down the list. And Julian Blackmon was the fourth round pick. So you're talking about 4 rounds of quality starters. In fact, 3 of those have been Pro Bowls or Pro Bowl nominees or All Pros. So you're talking about some really good players that all came from the same draft class. Now, I think this is of note because I think that this ties all of your core pieces to the Indianapolis Colts through the 2026 season, or there's a couple that are in the 2027 season. Michael Pittman will expire the 2027 season, and Quentin Nelson will expire the 2027 season. But everyone else on the Indianapolis Colts roster that we see right now all expire in the 2027 or 2026 NFL season. There's no one that goes past that aside from Anthony Richardson, who has that 5-year contract that would tie him to the 2028 season. And then I am looking here, Zaire Franklin with his new deal does link him till the 2028 season. But everyone else is gone at the 2027 NFL season, which I think is of note because I think that for Chris Ballard and company can be looked at as a scheduled rebuild if things go wrong. Or it could not be Chris Ballard. It could be Jim Irsay saying, this is your timetable to get us a championship, to get some stuff done. And if you don't by this time, this is where we're going to look. But this, another reason why I think this is a big deal for the Indianapolis Colts. This, pretty much everyone unanimously ranks DeForest Buckner in gradable defensive tackles. He's great. He's graded between 5 and 6. Cam Hayward sometimes beats him out, sometimes doesn't. But I think that this shows that the Colts wanted to add pillars to this interior defensive line, and I think that this might hint at where they're going with the draft. I think that this likely means that they're going to be addressing the cornerback and not the wide receiver position in the draft. But I think that this is due. DeForest has been there through all of the BS that the Colts have had over the past several seasons. But I think this is a huge deal for the Indianapolis Colts. Huge deal going forward. Buckner is now 30 years old, so this ties him until he's 33. And then, this is from 9 players that include Michael Pittman, Kenny Moore, Grover Stewart, and Zaire Franklin, all rejoining the Colts this past offseason. So I think this is a huge deal. I really like this. And I think that this, once again, shows us that players want to stick it out. They want to be here. There was a tweet last year that DeForest Buckner had where he was angry at the NFL rumors and said, "I trust what Chris Ballard's doing." And I think that that's something that as fans is very tough to get behind. But when you see someone of that caliber, someone who warrants the 5th highest defensive tackle contract in the NFL, if he's saying he trusts what Ballard says, I think that means that we probably should too, or at least I probably should too. And say, okay, like if you're trusting this and you're willing to stick it out with the Indianapolis Colts for the next 3 years, and for like all intents and purposes, you're roughly going to be sticking it out for the majority of the rest of your career. Then now giving the 4-year, $84 million that you signed in 2020, and then now the 3-year deal or the 2-year deal. So you're talking 7 years of an NFL career for a defensive tackle. That's a majority of your career, and you're saying I'm willing to stay here for this. I think that's a big deal, and I think that should not be overlooked as far as what it means. I also think that the Colts are capitalizing on Anthony Richardson's low salary cap right now. His average salary is only $8 million, and it's a 4-year, $33 million deal. So I think that for right now, the Colts are trying to build around him while he's developing, in hopes that he will be developed in the next couple of years. And then when Anthony Richardson warrants that massive 10-year, $500 million deal, that I think we all hope that he's going to justifiably warrant, this is going to put the Colts at a good place where they're going to be able to get those guys and be able to draft and again, to bring in. I think that this also means that the Colts are not going to be going. There was one defensive tackle, Javondre Sweat, that they had looked at. They had they had brought him in. He's one of the best defensive linemen, if not the best defensive lineman coming out of this draft, or at least defensive tackle. So I think that the Colts for a while had looked at potentially going in that direction, but I think that this definitely unequivocally says they will not be going in that direction in the draft. Obviously, they've signed Roquan Davis, they've signed Grover Stewart to a 3-year deal, and now they've signed DeForest Buckner. So Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner will actually, their deals will end the same year after that 2026 NFL season. So I think that's of note, but I also think that this is just a good deal all the way around for the Colts and for DeForest Buckner. And hopefully he continues to play at the level of which warrants this level of, warrants being the 5th highest deal. A new tweet from Adam Schefter just came out. DeForest Buckner, 2-year, $46 million. Michael Pittman, 3-year, $70 million. Kenny Moore, obviously, that's one that I haven't said yet. 3-year, $30 million. Grover Stewart, 3 years, $39 million. Zaire Franklin, 3 years, $31 million. Julian Blackmon, 1 year, $3.7. Rigoberto Sanchez, 3 years, $7.5. Tyquan Lewis. I forget that I like that one just kind of sneaks under it because of the 9 players that we've re-signed. I forget about Tyquan Lewis. Taven Bryan, and then Ronnie Harrison at 1 year, $1.3 million. So I think that this shows that the Colts from here on out are probably going to be looking towards the draft. This is pretty much the last big signing their salary cap allows for them to make. And so that either means that they're going to try and get someone now, or they're going to try and get someone like one last somewhat big signing, but they're not going to be able to get a Quandre Diggs or a Justin Simmons at this point just because of where they're at now with the salary. Now, they may have structured this deal where his cap doesn't come in until the end of this season when his current deal is up. That's likely how they contracted it, but that does mean that if they do sign a big name, that deal would have to be structured where it's either a 1-year deal or they'll have to work around that because of DeForest deal. But I think it's a good deal. I love this for the Indianapolis Colts. I love this for DeForest Buckner. And as a DeForest Buckner fan, this makes me very, very happy.